Welcome to Women at Halftime podcast, but not just for women, for you men too. If you're at mid-career or the halftime of life, our inspirational topics are not only fun, but also meant to help you maximize and write your next chapter. Right here with me, Deborah Johnson. Well, hello. It's good to be here with you today. And I have Greg here. We're together once a month, which is fun.
Hi, everybody.
Yeah. And today we are talking about those marketing and sales strategies for a new year coming up. Or actually we are, as this is released, we are in the new year. And I'm excited about talking about this because Greg has quite the sales background, and it's great to have him on board. And just to remind you of what our focus is in this Women at Halftime podcast, not just for women, also for men, but for those mid-career, halftime of life, that you are writing your next chapter. And what does that look like? And as many are reinventing, deciding they want to do something different, maybe not do as much, and going from there. So this is very relevant, especially for any sort of entrepreneurial journey. So I'm excited to kind of dig on in. And we'll kind of leave you with maybe some of our top tips. So I want Greg, first of all, to talk about sales and how it relates to marketing. I love actually marketing, but how does sales relate to this and from what you've done?
So as we've talked about this, sales and marketing go together. And for a lot of entrepreneurs, they know they should market. But sometimes the specifics as to why and what the message should be, it isn't there. And so we thought we would talk a little bit about the sales process to see if we can help direct your marketing efforts. So I started with a big Fortune 100 company in sales, and when I first started, our marketing would kind of be doing one thing, and it would typically be, really well funded. It'd be good advertising. But there was never any connection with us, the sales department, as to the messaging. And you would think that as the salespeople, our messaging would be, picking up what the marketing was doing, and we'd be, delivering that. And over time, they started to kind of dovetail things together. But in my experience, most sales and marketing don't even talk to each other. And here's what I mean. So when an entrepreneur starts a company, typically they have instinctively figured out that they have a product or a service that the market needs. Now, the key word there is need. Needs for humans breaks down into two things. One's a negative, meaning they've got a fear or a pain that needs to be relieved, or they have a dream or a want that they want fulfilled. So, one of those two things is how we define need. And so you could be a somebody who wants to make homemade jam. And in your mind, what you're thinking is that everybody could use strawberry jam. And there's lots of competition, but perhaps you figured out that if strawberry jams in just the right antique jar would fulfill a need. Now, if we were following that, what the need would be on the positive side. Somebody has a dream of eating strawberry jam out of just the perfect jar. So instinctively you feel this, but what we're trying to help you with today is to be able to write it down and identify it. So before we get into marketing any further, there's two sides of the equation, fear and want, fear and dreams. And inside those, on the fear side, the deepest is going to be pain. You've got a toothache, you've got cancer, you've got plumbing problems, water's dripping all over your floor. Those are pain issues, and you need them fixed. Slightly below that is a problem. You need wrapping paper for a birthday coming up. You've got a barbecue on Sunday and you need meat. Those are problems. On the positive side, there are dreams. So, the 50-something guy who walks onto the Harley Davidson dealership, who can just imagine himself, riding on a Harley with his leather jacket and the wind blowing through his hair and all that freedom, so that's a dream. It's, close to a fantasy. And so you got to figure out if you're selling those. And the below dream or fantasy is just a want. They want, perhaps you've got a great car, but what you would really like is a luxury car. And it's not, that's not kind of a dream, but it's a step up. Maybe your barbecue is fine, but it'd be fun to be able to smoke meats. So you start looking for a smoker or something. So the intensity level is different, and you got to figure out what it is. What emotion are you selling to? What emotion are you trying to fulfill? Okay, does that make sense? So if your marketing then is, let's say, aiming at women at halftime, the pain that you would be assuming is that women in their 40s and 50s feel stuck in a career, and stuck is a pain word. Does that make sense? You are not merely coasting, you're stuck. And so your marketing then is aimed at helping people understand they're stuck, and that and you are providing a solution to being stuck. You're not providing a solution to just coasting. You're not necessarily, providing a solution of, how to be a little bit smarter. You're resolving a specific pain. So how that ties in with sales then is sales is a conversation, and sales begins with helping the client or the prospect move from a felt need to understanding and being able to express what it is they're feeling. And in this case, pain. And if I was going to flip that around, if the guy walks onto my Harley Davidson dealership, the reason he walked in there, I know instinctively, is because he wants to fulfill a fantasy. My job as a salesperson is to help him say that out loud and to describe what, the joy of where he's planning on going, and, how much a Harley would help him do that. And the more that I can get the prospect to say those things themselves, as opposed to me telling them, boy, wouldn't you look great on a Harley? The better way to say that is, man, I can imagine what you're feeling. A Harley really would help you. If you can get to there, that's where you want to be in sales. But sales all starts with you helping a prospect become conscious about what it is they're trying to solve. Are they trying to solve a fantasy? Are they trying to solve pain? Do they have a problem? Or do they just have a wish? So and that's conversational. Somebody through your marketing contacts you or sends in a request online. That's when the sales process starts, and that's when you need to help them start figuring out what it is that they're chasing. They've obviously shown an interest. Something about your marketing has touched their button, but until they realize what their button is, you haven't really locked them in. And then once they start talking about, their pain point, then you can start to explore, well, what do you think the solution would be? And you would rather them tell you what the solution would be. Well, the solution would be, I'm a woman at halftime. My solution would be if I could take everything that I've learned, all my experiences, and pour them into a job that I create for myself. That's the sales process. Or going back to the Harley guy, what would the solution be? Well, if I could afford, a bike like this, I could chase all sorts of dreams. And, the next question obviously is, well, what about this bike do you like? And because now you need to get it from just a motorcycle to a Harley. So, anyway, I hope that helps. The first point is getting the client to say out loud what it is that they're chasing, what solution or fulfillment that they're chasing, and then help them figure out what that solution looks like. And does it look like your product or service?
That is one of the best explanations I have really heard. I mean, you were kind of off the cuff, but it was.
Well, to be fair, I have thought about this before.
Yes. Well, you're very relationship oriented in your sales as well. I've studied a lot of sales. I've gone to a lot. I'm not just this natural salesperson because I'm such an artist. So I try to do better in my sales strategies, but there's so many strategies, you just follow these extra little steps. But you've been just so very relational, and it feels so. You've been able to sell so naturally. It feels like, but you've got that in your head.
No, so I spent 20 years making it natural. When you're in sales for a long time, you think you're not selling unless you get somebody to buy something.
Yes.
And the mistake most salespeople make is people are not going to exchange dollars with you unless they trust,
yes,
not me, but trust what I'm selling will actually fulfill their need.
Right.
And that's why we talked about what we talked about. So, you have to be at a certain place in life, I think, where you're comfortable enough that you can take the time to, help people figure out what they need. Most people, my wife included, tend to want to jump to, well, what date do you want this? That's not a conversation. That's a pitch.
Yes.
And the pitch in sales is really a recap. And let me walk you through this. So if I've helped you figure out your pain, I helped you figure out what your solution looks like, not my solution, what your solution looks like. Then I walk through what our services offer. And then I walk you through, okay, here's your problem. Here's our solutions. And then I ask you this question. This is the resolution. Does it appear to you that these services hit the resolution that you're looking for? And if the answer is yes, now I make the pitch. And the pitch many times can be, can you think of any reason why we shouldn't, sign you up for this service?
Right.
That's a soft pitch.
Right.
Harder pitch would be, well, what it sounds like you're telling me is that we should move forward. Would you agree? So the pitch comes after the resolution, where you've described your services, but you've described the services based on what you already know their solution looks like. So you're not going to tell them, all the 40 things that you can do. You're going to match the 3 things. They've got 3 issues, and you're going to match 3 of your services to provide a fulfilling solution. And maybe instinctively, there's a 4th one. And so you add that in because for whatever reason, unconsciously, they haven't expressed that yet. But still, once you've resolved that your solutions match their problems, now you can make the pitch. If you make the pitch before that, they have no reason to trust that your solutions matches their need.
Yeah.
Does that make sense?
Yep. Totally. It does to me. Definitely makes sense. And I mean, we were just even talking about a book title. We were talking about some of my marketing materials, and you maybe back up and say, you need to identify the pain. What's the pain here? So, oh yeah, well, I was telling them what the result was going to be already. I was excited about it. So, but you have to, even in all of your materials, is to identify. And that's why I wanted to really start with that. And
that's really important because Deb had a really good idea. But the issue in marketing is your really good idea is meeting an unconscious and probably accurate problem. It's just that you didn't take the time to address the problem or really spell out the problem.
Yes.
And that's the place in marketing that you really need to start. Although you'll never start there. You'll always start with the solution. And then you need to ask yourself, this is a great idea. Why do I think it's a great idea?
Yeah.
And if you follow that, then you go back and you'll go, oh, the reason it's a great idea because people have this problem.
Yeah.
People have this pain.
Yes.
And if you'll do that, your copy will be much tighter and much more compelling.
Yes, definitely. And I'm going to kind of move to a little bit of that now in our marketing, because because I'm a creative, that's why I like the marketing, I think, better, because I like to create what will be put out there and the materials that we use. And there's a couple of these that I've in our points on marketing, though, that I have had to work hard at. And number one is evaluation, because evaluation and what is actually working, but it works. This dovetails right along with what you have just said. Is my messaging really communicating what I want to communicate? And as I was just evaluating some of my marketing on my books on Amazon, I discovered the top term that's being searched, of course, is self-help. Well, I knew that's a top search term, but I didn't realize how top search term it was. And it was actually selling books because of that one search term. And it was like self-help books. Okay, I'm just giving you a big clue now. If you are a book writer, that is a big search term. But on some of the other ones that I was being very creative with, and that seemed like they were top search terms, I had done some research. But for these books, they were not coming up as much. And so it showed me in some of my evaluation, and that's what I've been doing quite a bit of with some of my marketing, is to see, okay, what is hitting people the most and how can I then expand on that? And that's where you can be prudent with your marketing dollars, and it doesn't take as many marketing dollars, and you can be very much more specific. And in fact, there is a specific search term I'm going to take off because it wasn't getting me any sales, but it seemed like there were just lots of clicks for it. But I got the sales for another couple other terms. So
and from sales, let's spin that around and go, why is self-help books a Google search? So important question to ask. So because now think about this, somebody has pain or somebody has a problem.
Right.
So they've gone to Google and they've typed in self-help book. So our job as marketers is to try to figure out what pain, what problem drove them to type that in.
Yeah.
Okay. One simple thing might be they have got a need for a gift. Maybe it's birthday, maybe Christmas is coming up. And, they just want a generic self-help book. So if your problem is you need a gift, that makes total sense, right?
Right.
So you're there to provide the perfect gift. So your marketing copy has got to say the perfect gift for somebody who needs self-help. The next one, though, could be, let's say you've got a young adult in your life who needs self-help. And they start at self-help, but maybe what they needed was assertiveness training. Maybe what they needed was new mindsets. Maybe what they need is help in how to sell people. Those are all different kinds of self-help. So your marketing then needs to bring them to, are you providing a tool to help people learn how to sell? Are you providing a tool to help people with mindsets at halftime that can help them become successful entrepreneurs? Are you providing, entrepreneurs that are stuck, new direction? Are you providing people, just with the ability to be more forgiving? All of those are self-help. So you got to figure out, where in the self-help department you are at, and who exactly who is feeling pain and problems going to Google is it that you want to buy? And again, you start broad, and you got like 2 sentences to nail this, but you start broad and you provide the solution.
Right. Yes. And I found with self-help, with one of the books specifically, it was on mindset. And having that term right along with it was the key, and exactly. How that connected. Yeah. So that's a really great way to, just don't make it too hard for yourself, but make sure you're doing the data, that you're looking at the responses.
The important thing about data is it tells you what matters.
Yeah.
You have to figure out why it matters.
Yeah, that's a hard one.
But knowing what matters leads you, in this huge Easter egg hunt for prospects and clients, it leads you into the right backyard.
Right.
So, you need to appreciate data.
Right.
And we can't help it if people make bad Google searches. Right. Self-help seems like a really dumb thing to type in to me.
Yeah, well, to me too. I felt it was
but that's what people are typing in.
Yes.
So use the data in your favor.
Yep. And another point, this great. I mean, because you were such a numbers person, I've had to learn to really make sure I take good notes and keep good records and all of that. But another thing that really helps me is having a good system. And I plan my marketing, and I've gotten better at this as I've been looking at the data a lot more, and actually had a marketing budget. And so I've looked at a lot of those numbers a lot more carefully, and putting a system together and having that organized. It takes time to put that together, by the way. It's not something that just pops in there, and I'm trying to make it a little bit more evergreen, so I don't have to reinvent the wheel every single year, because I do something seasonally. But to have a seasonal and a system for your marketing, it really helps take the pressure off if you're organized, and then you're not just panicked thinking, oh, I need to market something. Now it's the holidays again. Oh, I have to get stuff out there.
Right.
And I remember there was one year like that, and you told me, like, we were talking about this, and it was August or September, and you had said you have like all of this Christmas music. Are you marketing it? And I'm thinking, oh yeah, I better get with it. And that was the year I started putting a lot more on my system together and making sure I had the memes, I had everything, a lot of it, but I hadn't put into a system.
Right.
So that's very important. And I have a course that talks about that, a new way of doing business, where we talk about those systems and how I can work with a VA and have that all organized on, usually I use Google Drive with a lot of that organization, but it's very important to have some sort of system that will work for you.
Yeah, Debbie's talked a lot about creating productive ruts. And a marketing calendar is one of those productive ruts. If you sit down, and you can start today, you can start in June, it doesn't matter, but you sit down and write out a 12-month marketing calendar, and you put it into your online calendar so that it prompts you on Monday that, whatever copy is due, that and you give it 3 days in advance, then you automatically now in 3 days will get the copy done, and you'll move the marketing ahead. Right. So if your calendar is pushing you along and telling you what you need to do this week, it doesn't become this panic thing where you realize it's almost September and I haven't done anything for Christmas yet.
Right.
Instead, something popped up right after Labor Day and said, okay, time to go to work on Christmas marketing.
Yes.
You've got 3 days to get it done. You got 5 days to get it done, whatever it is. Mm-hmm. And as long as you obey your calendar, you stay in what Debbie calls a productive rut.
Right. Right. And you can do so much online on your virtual planning and having all of that system to where it'll, you can kind of keep good records, the whole thing of that happening. Right, so it's a wonderful.
Which is another thing to put into your calendar would be marketing evaluation. You should evaluate your marketing every quarter.
Yeah.
And you need to schedule a meeting with yourself. Literally put it in the calendar and schedule a marketing meeting.
Yeah, and I'm a little behind on that sometimes. I'm scrambling thinking, I just had some ads finished the other day. I was, I'm pretty honest about this. I just had some ads finished. I'm thinking, are they already done? I didn't look at my calendar that I needed to put them up.
But the more that creative people put stuff on a calendar, instead of all of that creative energy just going into the ether, they're able to maintain structure in the midst of chaos.
Yes.
And so marketing calendar, really important.
Yes. And I'm going to talk just a little bit about creativity in our marketing as well, and using your creativity. And especially as an artist, I tend to love to use creativity, but sometimes I'm not clear. And in fact, I meant to have an album of mine handy with this, because I have some song titles that we thought this was one that we were doing with Double Grande. It's a great album. It's the classics rock. But we had titled all of these classical tunes, these really creative, this Moonlight, instead of the Moonlight Sonata, it was, we titled it something else that was really creative around it. And we had all these classics within it. And I remember talking to one of the engineers, and they were saying, what song was this? What is this? They didn't understand. And I think it has affected our licensing directly, because we were being so clever that it wasn't clear. Because on the recordings that I've done that have been more straight ahead, very clear, they sell. And I get the license a lot more.
And you've said that about yourself a lot,
Totally.
that your marketing copy sometimes is so clever that only you and I understand, what it is you're selling.
And I'm really glad you understand me. I love creativity. And so, but using that, don't discount it, because use it in your marketing, but just make sure it's very, very clear. And if you need to, be reminded of this, listen to Donald Miller with Story Brand and all of that. That's very, very a big deal what they push, and to make sure you're.
So maybe another way to say that is that clever is admirable.
Yes.
Clear is vital.
I like that. I'm going to have to remember that one. That's going to be a quote.
I just made that up.
Yeah.
So write that down.
It was pretty pithy, by the way. That's Yeah, that'll be in the article that I that I write accompanying this. So I want to talk about one more thing with sales, because it's something that as an artist I have faced quite a bit. And as speakers, we also face it. And really, as many people in selling a B2B in your business, sometimes you're not just selling to a person, you're selling to a committee. And I was kind of evaluating some of my sales in the past, and a lot of times I'd have to sell to the committee at the arts conferences. And I've done those for years. You know, you showcase, and you've got the director there. You're thinking, "Oh, this is going to book," and the dreaded word, always the dreaded word was, "Oh, I'm going to take this back to my committee," and you're thinking, it's going to die. They can't sell me. What you have to do as an artist, as a speaker, as an entrepreneur, as a business owner, you have to help whatever committee there is. Now, a lot of times, you know, you can get fortunate. There's one person going to make that decision or lead the pack, but you have to provide the tools, very clear tools, and what you can do. And in fact, I'm going to add that on some of my marketing this year is, what are you really going to get out of hiring me? You know, I mean, in music, people know because I can do the job. I've done it for years. I've been with some of the same organizations like Disney, and they know I'm going to show up on time. I'm going to do a great job. I'm going to, you know, smile and talk to people. They're going to love it. And that's, I don't have to sell to them. But in other areas, what are they really getting out of this when there's so much competition? What can I really provide you and your organization? So having that personable sort of a video is a great way to do that. Very, very short. But what will you get if I come to your organization?
Well, that as a salesperson is what you need to provide the answer for.
Yes.
To describe committees a little bit, and it could be, you know, you're selling to a department head, let's say software, and they're convinced, but they still got to go to the CEO and get him to sign the check. So before he signs, he's got to be convinced, and he doesn't want to take the time to meet with you. He wants his person to do all of the investigation and report back to him. So you're needing to equip whatever person you're meeting with to handle the next sales presentation. So they become the salesperson for you. So one of the questions that I typically found helpful is after we've resolved, so what you told me is this is your pain. Here's our solution. It sounds like you agree that that's it. Now tell me, so here's the next step. As you take this back to the committee, what fear do you have? How are they going to jump you? And because that's the next level of pain. Does that make sense?
Yeah. It does to me.
Yeah, they're maybe there's a super assertive person on the board. Maybe there's somebody who just likes to be obnoxious and ask hard questions. Maybe the person there's somebody there who always says no the first 3 times, and you got to slug it out before you get a yes. But whoever you're talking to knows the board better than you do, and if you can ask them as you begin to present this, what's your greatest fear? What are you imagining will happen? And if you can engage in that conversation, then you can address that greatest fear and give them the words or the tact that they need to take in order to overcome, whatever it is. When Deb was doing concerts and somebody was going to go back to a committee, typically, committees are there, and their greatest fears is nobody's going to buy a ticket,
Right.
and or that there won't be any marketing materials. So, an easy one, you just got to be prepared, is you ask them, what's the committee's, how are they going to Shanghai this? What are they going to challenge you with? And normally it's going to be, we're not going to sell tickets, or we're not going to have marketing.
Yeah.
And so Deb got to the place where she was ready with the marketing materials. Well, we got, supportive marketing materials. Here's a couple of examples of it. You can take it with you. And then the one about selling tickets, normally the easy answer was, oh, how many season ticket holders do you have?
Yeah.
Because the season ticket holders are going to come, whether no matter who you hired. So anyway, but helping them with that conversation gives them more confidence to go before the board.
Right.
They were going to go back to the board anyway, but now they've rehearsed it, and they've rehearsed it with you. Right. So that one rehearsal a lot of times really helps.
It really does. And I remember showing up at one place. I didn't even know that they had some sort of committee, but he had brought my CD, and he said, I was just looking for the best soprano I could find in the country. I was like, really? Yeah. And he played the version of Think of Me, which I feel like it was one of those gold standards. And
absolutely.
And of course, I always had to do the Andrew Lloyd Webber because I could, hit the money notes. But it was how he sold me. One of the things, how he sold me. And this was a place I think we were in New Mexico, and it was out of the way, full theater that were so happy to be there. There were border control agents. They were all there because this was their entertainment. So everyone in this little town came out, and it was so much fun. But it was, the presenter, that's when he told me that. And it was like, wow, I was not asking those sort of questions. You were so good at asking questions.
So if she was going to sell that over again, in this case, the guy, instead of having fear, had a dream.
Yes.
And his dream was he'd be able to get the best soprano in the country.
Yeah.
And once he heard the CD, there was resolution. And he could confidently sell that because all he needed to do was play 20 seconds of a cut off of a CD, and it was a slam dunk sale because he knew his committee and he knew exactly what he was looking for. So that would have been, a great way to sell it.
Yeah. And he didn't even ask about my piano playing, which, I played Rhapsody in Blue, didn't even talk about that, but it was the money notes, so they're looking for something different.
Which, going back to sales, once the person buys, remember they've got, maybe 3 things. Don't list the 40 things. Don't list that by the way, I can play Rhapsody in Blue. It doesn't matter. You hit the money note.
Yeah.
End of sentence.
I know. In fact, you remind me of that quite often, saying, stop. That's enough. We know you can do all these things. So I think those were just some great points. Is there anything else you want to leave us with today? Because this has been so very good to be reminded of all of the sales.
Hopefully, as people have thought about sales and marketing, that the pain that they're experiencing is a little bit of unclarity as to how to do it. And hopefully we've provided some resolution as to the essentials and how sales and marketing tie together, and how you need to identify what either pain or dreams you're trying to fulfill. And you can get more specific in your marketing copy, and therefore your sales can follow up your marketing in a perfect way if you do this.
Right. That's really a great way to tie both of those in together. And I just want to remind you that you can access the article, make sure that you do that, and that you connect with me. I have a newsletter that comes out every single week. I'm going to say this nice and slow because Greg always reminds me, goalsforyourlife.com goals.com/newsletter. Again, goalsforyourlife.com/newsletter. You can contact me on any one of my websites. I do have a speaking website, Deborah Johnson Speaker. That's very easy. And also I've got djworksmusic.com. So you can find lots of music there. People love that website as well. And so make sure that you spend time to go through those, and we will look forward. We're on together once a month. It's so much fun. And we'll look forward to being with you again next time. So bye for now.
Bye.
Thank you for joining us. It is because of our wonderful listeners like you that we keep going strong week after week. We'd love it if you'd share and follow us to not miss a single show, and even write a review. You can also find all of our articles, products, and links at womenathalftime.com.